Hey everybody, this is Jim the Tabletop Engineer and welcome to a new playthrough video. This is actually going to be the start of a new playthrough series, and it's based on this game right here called 5 Leagues from the Borderland. This is the 3rd edition. Now I have this on my iPad because the book, the printed version, is not out yet. The PDF book is. If you order the print book, and they have a UK website and a US website for shipping purposes. If you order from either one, they will allow you to immediately download the PDF of the book. Now, I play a game called 5 Parsecs from Home. If you are familiar with 5 Leagues, it is a fantasy version of the sci-fi 5 Parsecs from Home. I suspect that a lot of you watching this video are probably familiar with 5 Parsecs from Home. Maybe, I don't know. It's definitely a favorite of mine. It is a solo game. Now, you can play it with your friends, and the rules also provide the ability to have like a GM that would run the bad guys. But I typically run my games solo, at least this particular version of game. My 5 Parsecs from Home is solo, so I am going to be running a 5 Leagues from the Borderlands game. Now, one thing I'm going to go ahead and say right now is I have read the rules, and I'm probably going to need to read them 3, 4, 5 more times. It's a lot of rules. I think the game has actually got a lot more crunch. That's a gaming word for complexity. I think the game has not a little bit. I think it has quite a bit more complexity than 5 Parsecs, and that's just based on my initial read. Mainly because combat. In 5 Parsecs from Home, most combat, at least in my experience, is long range. You have people with weapons, laser pistols, whatever, that can fire long range. So a lot of the combat is being done at a distance. Not so with 5 Leagues. You do have archers, people who can fire crossbows and bows and slings and other long-range weapons, but they're sort of, I wouldn't say that they discourage it. It's just there are penalties if those characters get to like fire first, for example, but they have limited ammunition most cases. Most of the combat in 5 Leagues that I have, from what I have understood from my initial reading, is hand-to-hand melee combat, and so the rules are a little more crunchy in that respect. So if you choose to play this game, one of the first things you're going to want to do is create a warband. And the warband, the rules state you can have up to, I think the rules actually don't put a limit on it, although they do mention like 9 or 10 warband members. And they talk about, the rules talk about how the game will get progressively more difficult with a larger warband. But it does recommend that you start out with 6 figures, 6 miniatures, 6 characters. 4 of them are going to be heroes, and 2 of them will be followers. Heroes level up, and they get bonuses, and they can do things. Followers don't do that, although there is a place in the rules where followers can sort of be upgraded or get enough playtime that they can become a full-fledged hero. I also, and I could be wrong here, I am pretty confident that this is going to be a violent game. The rules in many places tell you to expect your heroes to die, your followers to die, and for you to have to recruit new ones. It says that in 5 Parsecs, but knock on wood, my experience with 5 Parsecs so far has been fairly lucky. I've had a few characters knocked out, but not taken out of the game permanently. The rules I'm reading here, it just seems like there's more opportunities for dead characters. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have a little whiteboard here that is a sort of a copy of the Warband roster sheet, which comes in the back of the rulebook. During this video, it's going to cut. It's not going to be one continuous video, and the main reason being is I have to flip through pages, and doing it on this iPad is not as... To me, it's not as easy as using a printed book. So I apologize in advance that this video may be herky-jerky. It may jump around a little bit. I will go over in this video what I want to do is I want to make my warband. I'm going to start with 6, which will be 4 heroes and 2 followers. And here it says you can have a size of 7 or 8. It says you can also increase the size of your warband during the campaign. But later on, I remember somewhere, I think it mentioned 9 or 10. So You have heroes. One of the heroes is going to be called the Avatar. That is you. You actually are going to sort of embody one of these characters, and it will represent you. You do not want that character to die, because when the Avatar dies, if I read the rules right, you don't get another one, at least in the campaign. If you're going to run a campaign, which is a series of adventures that are tied together in a bit of land, and we'll get to that, you do not want to lose the hero that is the Avatar, which represents you. Followers, apparently you can get them anywhere. Heroes, not so much. Also, one of your heroes can be a mystic, which is a spellcaster. I don't recall anything about cleric type characters. I could be wrong. Maybe I overlooked something. Some of the spells that the mystics can use seem to be an overlap of traditional wizards and clerics. There's some rollover there. But let's get started. So, as with 5 parsecs, I'm going to start with my with one of my heroes. I'm just going to put an H out beside to indicate this is a hero, and I'll come up with a name later. But they all start out with a basic score: agility of 1, speed of 4, slash plus 3. That plus 3 is called a dash bonus. If you don't take you get a move action and another action, like fight or something like that. If you choose not to do that bonus action or that extra action, you can dash, which is extra movement. And some characters have the plus after the initial slash. My combat is plus 0. This is not starting off so well. And toughness is 3. There are other skills called luck, will, and casting, and we'll get to those as certain characters are created. Like, for instance, the mystic will use the casting, but I believe no one else will do that. Now, after you create a hero, and this is just me, I prefer playing magic users. When I play D&D or any kind of fantasy RPG, I tend to lean towards the spellcasters. So not only am I going to make this a hero, I'm going to make this a mystic, and this is going to be my avatar. So I'm starting out with my first character here. It says if you wish to have a spellcaster, one of them may be a mystic. They have the same base profile, but they have a casting of plus 0. Now they're going to develop skills. There's an area here to write in skills and proficiencies. There's a place for equipment, a place for XP, and a place for their level. First thing you're going to do is you can either choose their origin or you can roll it randomly. And it tells you it doesn't really matter. You can pick and choose. If you have miniatures that you want the game to the characters to sort of fall into those miniatures, then you may want to pick and choose. Traditional Dungeons and Dragons type races are not represented here. There is a human and there is a halfling. And Fae Blood, which I think most people would sort of say that's elf, Dustling, Preen, and Feral. I'm going to use Dustling as the dwarf and Preen as, I don't know, something else, and the Feral is something else. So for my initial one here, his origin is going to be human, and this is my mystic that I'm created. So I'm not going to roll for that. Now it says humans are the default, and then you get certain bonuses. Let me get a paper towel because I'm going to be erasing some of this. Humans add +1 to all speech tests. So under proficiencies, I would write speech +1. And I may clean this up later once I understand how things will space and stuff like that. Now, I choose a background. Humans may select from townsfolk, noble, frontier, or zealot. And I'll get to that in just a moment. Humans are driven. They are the only characters that can attain more than 1 point of will. Now, right now, I don't know how much will this character has. It says, additionally, if a human obtains a will increase when earning an advancement, they get 2 XP. Okay. I'm not going to do Fae Blood. Let me keep going here. Dustling, Preen. Let's get to the next thing. Generating heroes. The background. To create a human hero, select one of the following background options. Then roll a d20. The background options are... let's see, what were they? There's Frontier, Mystic, Noble, Outsider, Townsfolk, and Zealot. And if you'll remember, the human has to be, of course I went right by it, humans have to be either Townsfolk, Noble, Frontier, or Zealot. I don't know. I read through the tables, but they sort of all blend. Each background has a number of random tables that you're going to roll, and they will give you bonuses to your stats. They will give you skills that you can pick. Some of them give you more money starting out or more equipment. Others not so much. So I don't really know here, but it says the mystic background. This background must be selected by mystic characters regardless of origin. So even though I'm a human, I have to choose the mystic background. So let's do the mystic background table. I'm going to roll a d20 to decide which increase I get, which skill increase. I rolled a 13, which is a casting increase. Excellent. And I assume, I don't know if that means I get a +1, but I'm going to write it down just in case so I don't forget. Casting +1. Then I get a mentality roll. And I rolled a 6, which is +1 will, so I have 1 will so far. Now for possessions, I roll a d20. I rolled a 19, which is an item, so I have an item. And I assume there's a table somewhere where I'll roll for that. And then my training is a 6, which is 1 skill, so I get 1 skill. All right, and again, it says life is hard. Not every character will develop talents and skills and stuff like that. So the bad news is I didn't start with any money, but I do have a skill, I do get an item, and I did get a will point. All right, so that is it for the background. Now, under skills table, you can roll randomly, but I think it says for each skill acquired in the training, roll once on the skills table. Rolling a skill you already possess allows you to choose any skill. So I only have 1 skill. And it says skills grant a +2 bonus when taking a relevant position. So for my skill, I need to roll a d100. And what I'm going to do is green is the tens digit, or tens. So that's a 20. And on the table here, it is devotion. Interesting. All right, so the skill is devotion. And it says obtaining blessings, enacting rituals, resisting hostile spells. Okay, cool. And devotion is a +2 when a skill is called for that. Selecting hero equipment. Now the item is different. So it says for weapons. Now, as I understand it, and I could be wrong here, wizards can use weapons in this game. It says there are no equipment restrictions for mystics, and many appreciate armor in a hostile world. I think that's fascinating. I've read fantasy books where spellcasters had swords and maybe some limited armor. So I've always thought that, I understand the argument that wizards have spent their entire life learning spells, and so they don't know how to use armor equipment or a shield or a sword, but maybe some do. Maybe some just don't advance as far as others because they want to learn how to fight. So I can select 2 quality weapons and 2 basic weapons to assign them to my heroes. So for right now, I don't know how my heroes are going to play out, but you can choose quality weapons, which apparently do, they're like better for melee, and then there's basic weapons, and I think basic weapons damage easier. I could be wrong there. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to select weapons. I'm going to do that once I get all my characters made. And then I'll figure out who gets what. Let's see. No more than 2 heroes can be given a ranged weapon. So out of your 6, if you choose to start with 6, only 2 can start with a ranged weapon. Now, if you rolled a ranged weapon as a piece of equipment, that doesn't count. You could then you still get those 2 as basic equipment. And then for armor, it says you get 2 suits of partial armor, 2 suits of light armor, 1 helmet, and 1 shield, and you have to distribute those as you see fit. Now, let's do the followers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll do a follower here and a follower here. And this thing I cut on dry erase has enough for a party of 8. So I'm only going to be using 6 of these. So let's generate the followers. That is a D100. For all future rolls, I'm not going to say this every time. The green is the tens digit. That is a 66. Which is a roving traveler. This guy is a roving traveler. I'll just put it here. Roving traveler. All right, and then my other follower will be 27, a former soldier. That's probably going to be good. All right, former soldier. Followers have the same basic profiles as heroes, but do not begin with any ability score improvement. So 1, 4/+3, +0, and a toughness of 3. They have no luck, no will, and no casting at the start of the game. So that's good. Getting it done. And I'll come back and name them later. I determine the followers. Each follower may be armed with either a standard weapon or a staff. Well, these guys need a standard weapon. And standard weapons, if you go back to the page, I am sure somewhere it states what is a standard weapon. If you do not have 2 ranged equipped heroes, 1 follower may take a bow. Okay, so if you give 2 bows to your heroes, your followers can't. 1 follower will wear light armor. The rest will wear no armor. So I'm going to give the former soldier light armor. And spell selection. If you opted to take a mystic, you may select any 2 spells from the spell list. Then you roll 3 times on the spell list to see what other spells are known, re-rolling duplicates. So I get to pick, and I'm not there yet, but there's a lot of spells to choose from. It says spells are on page 47, so I'll remember that. Finishing touches. Write down that you have 3 story points. Story points can be used to sort of twist the game to fit a narrative that you want. They can also be used to affect rolls. Like if you don't like a certain roll on a table, you can burn a story point in certain situations to say fate steps in and something else happens. And they can be used in a lot of different ways. So you start out with 3 of those, and it says select one of your existing heroes to be the avatar. They gain 1 point each of will and luck. So I've got 1 luck and 2 will. Roll a D100 on the avatar. This details an events from your past. Okay, let's see what happened. And this is an effect as well. I rolled an 86. As a reward, you were given a small flask said to bring good fortune in dark times. Begin the game with a potion of fortune. And I also got an item, which I assume is a table somewhere. I'll have to figure out where that is. All right, that's the avatar. Now, it says in the event your avatar dies, you are not able to create a new avatar. So I did tell you that right. At that time, you roll 2d6. On a score of 9+, your existing avatar escaped a horrible fate and will return to rejoin their old comrades again. So there is a way to sort of save them, if they die, so to speak. All right, not doing new recruits, not doing that yet. Creating your miniatures. All right, then it goes into the game rules. So here's what I want to do. I'm not going to make this video too long for y'all, but I want to go back and I want to create a couple more heroes. So I told you this guy's going to be human. This hero, and there's 4 heroes and 2 followers. Why did I move it down here? All right. Okay, so this hero, again, they all start with 1, 4 + 3 + 0, and 3. This is not my avatar, so he gets no luck, no will. I am going to make his origin. In this book, it's called Dustling, and I am, based on the description of Dustling, it sounds like dwarves to me. So I'm gonna play a Dustling, which is a dwarf in my mind. And over here, I can come over to Dustling, and it says Dustling heroes must select the outsider background. So his origin, his origin is Dustling, and his background is outsider. He gets +1 on traveling tests. So he's got a skill called Travel, and he's +1. Brute Charge. A popular Dustling tactic is to charge, hitting the enemy with built-up rage. When moving into melee, the following rules apply. They cannot parry. They may choose to re-roll their die in the first exchange. So there are some benefits to being that character. Oath of Life. Despite or perhaps because of the warlike nation or ways, the Dustlings are infused with a hatred of all things that will not stay dead. So it says, against undead opponents, Dustlings receive the counterattack ability. So I'm going to write that counter attack against undead versus undead. Distrust. They have a distrust of anything mystical. It says Dustlings can only have one single magic item at a time. They cannot have spells cast on them by other members of the Warband, and they will never allow it. If they find a magic item during a tabletop, they pick it up, but they must reorganize their equipment after the encounter. All right, so let's go see what capabilities. Raise the abilities. Okay. Capabilities. Non-humans must select specific backgrounds. Mystic. These are the increases the base character profile exactly as the character leveled up. Raise the ability score by +1 for combat skill as indicate. Okay, so I'm going to get some things for capabilities, mentality, and possessions. All right, so let's see. Oh, here it is. For the mystic item, I can select either congealed strands or a mystic trinket. The number in parentheses is the number of uses. I don't know what those are yet, so I'm going to I'm just going to say, I don't know, item, and I'm going to write page 20 so I'll remember where to go look for that. Let's see, what can I do here? Generating heroes. To roll the hero, select one of the backgrounds, then roll a d20 on page 2021. Okay, so I need to come over here. This is it. He is a outsider, so I go to the outsider table, which is here. For the background, I roll a d20. I rolled a 1. Agility increase. So his agility goes up to 2. His mentality is a 7, which is +1 XP. All right, so he's automatically got some XP. Possessions 5 is 1 gold mark. Marks are that's the coin in this game, and it's shared. So there's an area on the Warband roster sheet that you'll fill out that you'll just put the money in there. And then his training is a 5, which is 1 skill. So he has 1 skill. And let's see, is that it? So on the skill table, you roll a D100. I rolled a 47, which is pathwise. No idea. Pathwise. And pathwise says it's navigation, avoiding obstacles. Okay, so his skill is pathwise +2. Again, equipment, I'll deal with that later. I've already done the followers. I already did the story points. So basically, let me go ahead and do this. I might as well go ahead and do all 4 characters. For the next one, I'm going to choose let's do a Fae Blood, which is, I guess, elf, or I'm going to treat it as elf. And under the Fae, they get a background. They must select the Really? Fae Blood also has outsider. Okay. And aura of winter. All Fae melee. Okay, cursed. They are burdened by Fae. Fae cannot ever attain luck. So luck is out of the question for Fae characters. And it says if you get a luck increase, you treat it as a skill. All right, so let's go. Now agility is 1, 4/+3. Combat is +0. Toughness 3. Okay, let's go see what this guy is. Outsider again. Let's go to page 2021. We will roll a d20 for the outsider again. Outsider d24. Agility increase. So agility also. Mentality is a 14, which is +1 XP. So they also get 1 XP. XP can be used to make improvements on your character. It's not in the hundreds, like you don't have to get 100 XP to do something, but just so 1 doesn't sound like much, but in this game it is. 1's a lot. 3 for possessions is 1 gold mark, so I have 2 marks that I start with, and training is a 9, which is 2 skills. So the skills here, the first one is 42, which is pathwise. Well, okay. Skills are pathwise +1. No, +2, excuse me. And the second skill, re-rolling, is 15, which is crafting. Okay. Crafting is +2. All right, crafting is related to repairing, manual labor, and haggling. Interesting. All right, and then the final character, I'm going to do a Preen because I don't remember what a Preen is. A bird-like humanoid, although I'm changing this to match one of the minis that you'll find out soon. I'm going to write Preen only because I have a miniature that does not match bird-like humanoid, but I'm going to use Preen, the stats for that particular miniature. All right, they have to be a townsfolk on the background. And what do they get? They get +1 on all crafting. Okay, so crafting is +1. Having a lot of overlap here. Outburst, whether due to some errant quirk, perhaps the same as gifted them ungainly stature. Preen are prone to loud and angry outbursts. And if a Preen becomes angry, if any of the following happens: an ally within 6 inches becomes a casualty, or they are hit by a ranged attack or targeted by a spell, even a friendly one. When they are angry, they must move at their full speed plus dash bonus towards the nearest enemy and engage in melee. This is an exception to the normal. Okay, so if they become angry, they got to attack. So I like that. That's kind of cool. All right, let's go see. Oh, they are swift-footed, so their speed is increased by +0, +1. So this one is now at +4. Where's my Preen? So agility was 1. Speed is now 4 and +4. It was +0 to the basic one, but +1 to the dash. Slight. They are small in stature. They cannot use higher ground to counterattack. That's a combat rule that we'll hopefully get into. I do not have a halfling, so let's go see what this background is. Townsfolk, which is right here. All right, so roll a d20 for their capabilities. 4. They get a combat skill increase, so combat goes to +1. A mentality is 1, which is +2 will. So they get 2 will. That's good. Possessions is a 13, which is a quality weapon. And finally, training is a 14, which is +1 XP. All right, I've got my 4 basic heroes made and my 2 followers. Now, for the spells, my Mystic can pick 2 and then roll randomly for 3. So I want to reread over the spells again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and roll for the 3 random, the 3 random spells, so that you can at least see how those are done. So the chart begins on page 47. So here's spell number 1 is, ooh, that's 100. I don't know if that matters, but that's a cool number to roll. Weaken. All right, so one spell is, and I'll have to figure out how to reorganize this for better understanding, but one spell is Weaken. I can erase that, and I'll write Weaken under the spell section. Weaken says it takes an 8+ to cast. I believe you roll 2d6, and you add your casting roll, which is +1. So I would have to roll a 7 or higher on 2d6 added together. I can target an enemy, and it says it negates a toughness trait, and the duration is for a battle. Second spell is, let me roll that one again. It was cockeyed. 22, which is, 22 is Distract. All right, let me read what that says. Distract is a 7+ casting, for me a 6+. 1 enemy ranged trooper. Target will remain in place but cannot shoot, and it's the duration is for its activation, so it's a one-time thing. And then the third spell random is 29, which is Explore. Explore is 7+ casting, 6 for me. Target is 1 marker. In the game, there will be markers that are placed that represent unknown things. And it says select an unknown enemy marker, exploration marker, or unusual location marker, and roll to resolve what it is. This spell does not require line of sight. So it basically lets me determine a special area on the battle. All right, and then I will go later and pick 2 more. And during my first adventure, I'll try to remember to let you know which 2 spells I chose, but I want to reread them again, so I'm not going to do that right now. So I've got my spells rolled. By the way, this whiteboard, I will be using a printed sheet for a more permanent record keeping, and I will always upload the PDF of my most current Warband with each video. Now, sometimes it may not change from video to video, but you'll always be able to download it. What I use the whiteboard for is during the battle, it will be where I track things, notes, and stuff like that. So it's a little bit messy, and I do apologize, but I will clean this up in a more permanent PDF that you'll be able to get with the video. Let's see. After the spells, there was another thing I could do, which was it gives you a starter scenario, which I'm going to run, and I'll probably video that. It talks about story points, and then you get into equipment. Here we go. So it explains what the weapons are, what kind of benefits they get. If you'll remember, I get 2 quality weapons, 2 basic weapons, 2 partial armors, 2 light armors, 1 helm, and 1 shield. I wrote that down here. But I also get another quality weapon, which the Preen starts with. The quality weapons are pretty good. I went ahead and chose a crossbow for the Preen, and it doesn't count towards those 2 initial qualities, so I get an extra one. I chose a bastard sword, a warhammer, and for the basic weapons, I chose self-bow and a standard weapon. Now, in this game, standard weapons represents a sword, mace, spear, hatchet, something that requires one hand, and it has a +0/+0 combat modifier. And just for right now, all you need to know is standard weapon sort of encompasses everything except for staff, sling, bow, or a light weapon. There are also things called quality weapons, which the Bastard Sword is and the Warhammer are, and they actually give you benefits. Like the Warhammer has a +1 in melee, and the Bastard Sword has a +1, and I believe the second number is, it says, if the game requires a bit of a, they can swing it around enough to count as a standard weapon. Okay, hold on, just one second, I'll explain this. The weapon has to deal with, the slash is, what was it? Each weapon less the type, melee, or ranged. So it tells you melee. And then it says it's overcome armor, overcome toughness. That's right. So just to explain this real quick. Let's say you have a character that is wearing armor. Without the armor, they have toughness. Toughness is what you have to beat to knock them out of the game, kill them, so to speak. And then armor goes on top of that. So when you make a hit, a successful hit, first you have to overcome the armor. And if that's the case, then you have to overcome the toughness. All of these weapons, the first number is the overcome armor part, and the second number is the overcome toughness. So my Bastard Sword is +0 against armor, but it gives me +1 if it gets through that armor. It does more. It has a likelier chance of going over the toughness value. The Warhammer is the opposite. It has +1 against armor, but +0 against toughness. So you will want to track those numbers when you write them down. Now, how am I going to do this? I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. The Preen automatically has the crossbow. I chose a crossbow as their starting. They got in one of their background roles, so they will have a crossbow. And the crossbow, by the way, is a 24-inch range, and it has +1 against armor, +0 against toughness. It says it's bulky and it has limited ammunition. The character cannot move and shoot in the same action. So with a crossbow, you either move or you shoot, but not both. Now, the limited ammunition, let me go ahead and explain this real quick, because I'm going to have to reread this, but I'm pretty sure I got it right. When you roll a 2-hit on a character, if you roll a natural 1, except for the first time you fire the weapon. First time it doesn't count, but after that, every time you fire a weapon that has limited ammo, you roll the D6 or whatever. If you roll a natural 1, which means the 1 shows on the die, you are out of ammo at that point. All right, I guess that was your last shot. So at that point, you can only use whatever basic hand-to-hand melee weapon you have. So the problem here is I have 4 heroes and 2 followers, but I only have... Now, the followers come with standard weapon. They each get a standard weapon. So that's +0/+0. So no modifier there. I have a Bastard Sword, a crossbow, and a Warhammer, and a self-bow, which is just basically a standard bow, and a standard weapon to distribute among these 4. Now, if I don't give the Preen a weapon, a hand weapon, if he ever goes out of ammo, he's out of luck because he won't have a weapon, a hand-to-hand melee weapon. So I'm probably going to end up giving him a standard weapon. And then who was it? One of these guys. Nope. None of them have. The only one who had a starting weapon was the Preen. So I'm going to have to think this through about how. That's one of the drawbacks of the ranged weapons is that limited ammo. You run out of ammo, they better have a backup weapon. So let's keep going here. If you'll remember, my wizard, my mystic, got started with one item. Well, I found that. Oh, by the way, armor. Light armor has an armor rating of 1. Partial has an armor rating of 2. But movement is reduced. Full armor has an armor rating of 3, but movement is significantly reduced. You'll have to, if you go over the rules, if you're going to watch this game, I will explain this once combat starts. But basically, the armor rating, an armor rating of 1 means I have to roll a d6. Let's say somebody has an armor rating of 1. You have to roll a 2 or higher to get through the armor, right? And then if you get through the armor, you roll again to see if you got through their toughness, and you have to roll higher than their toughness. All of my characters have a toughness of 3, so you would have to roll and I can't remember if it's meet or match. I'll have to look that up. I can't remember if you roll a 3 or if you have to roll a 4 to defeat the character, but I'll try to remember that. It says helmets reduce the chance of a post-game injury roll. When a battle ends, just because a character became a casualty in the battle, casualty meaning they're removed from the game, that doesn't mean they're dead, permanently dead. There is a table in here that you will go and roll for all of your casualties after a battle to determine if they are truly dead, if maybe they got an injury or something like that. So just know that the armor that you have, you're going to want to think about how to distribute that as well. Now, assorted items. Again, I can pick from one of these for my mystic, although I believe if I go back, it's a limited number of choices. I cannot remember if I can choose from here or if I'm limited to something. So I'll go back and check that as well. But there are a ton of items. I say a ton. There's a lot, maybe 50 or 60 that you can encounter during your campaign that can go in your backpack or your stash. Your stash is sort of like a community chest that's held at wherever your base is. And your base is basically, this game is going to be played on a map where you'll be moving from point to point. And whenever you end up in a town or a hovel, or I can't remember the other names for them, there's different types. You can have your stash, which is kind of where you keep everything. And then you have a backpack. The backpack can only hold, I think, 6 items, but it's what your group is carrying into a battle. So you can stuff it with things that you're not necessarily carrying, but you can't bring your whole stash to a battle. And that's why over here I have equipment stash, which is large, and a backpack, which is smaller. And then, of course, part 2 explains the rules of running the campaign. Now, I've skipped over the section on combat. It's not exceedingly long, but it is a little bit more complex than 5 parsecs from home. But what I wanted to do in this video was get my Warband made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my spells for my Mystic. I'm going to assign the weapons and the armor and figure out if there's anything else I need to do. And then I will transfer this information over to a PDF of the Warband roster, and I will make that available as a download with this video. All right, I am really looking forward to playing this. I have so enjoyed playing 5 Parsecs from Home. I've known about this game, or the 3rd edition being coming out for probably a year now. So I've been looking forward to this, and it's finally out. It's from Modiphius, and Ivan Sorensen, I hope I got his name right. That's who is the game's creator. Let me make sure that I got the... Well, spelling doesn't matter. It's Ivan Sorensen. Yes, that's the lead designer and writer, and Modiphius is the publisher of the 3rd edition. That's all I have in this video. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section. I will do my best to answer them, although it may have to wait a little while once I get a game or 2 under my belt. I'm learning this as I go, which is typical of me playing these solo games, but I think I'm off to a good start, and I hope you followed along. And if you are playing this game as well, post a comment and let me know what you decided on your initial Warband. All right, in the next video, I believe I'm going to roll up the first battle, or I may just do the first battle. There's a starter battle in here that it recommends. Haven't decided yet, but trust me, second video, you'll find out. It will probably be some combat. All right, this is Jim, the Tabletop Engineer. Everybody, thanks for joining me. I'll be back with a new 5 Leagues from the Borderlands video very soon. Everybody, take care.